Tyson's in trouble. Holyfield smothers Tyson. Looking to put Tyson down and end the fight. Tyson is not in trouble. He's saved by the bell.
Mike is out on his feet.
The championship rounds, round 11. And now, here we go. We are looking at a sports legend in the purple trunks, Evander Holyfield. Holyfield continues to dig in. A left hook to the head. He's got Tyson in trouble. Tyson's ready to go. A straight right hand. The Tufte stops the fight. And Holyfield has
I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever been privileged to witness.
mayhem. It is bedlam.
This is the Boxing Talk and Old Time Boxing Show on stream, presented by GAR 1680. Here is your host, Paco Rivera.
Good evening and welcome to another broadcast of the GAR 1680 North Carolina Boxing Talk Radio Show. I am Paco Rivera. It is Monday, September 2nd, 2013. Happy Labor Day to all. It is just past 8 p.m. I am here every Monday at 8 talking about what's going on in boxing here in North Carolina. I've got a lot of great stuff to talk about tonight. I'll be telling you about my conversation with North Carolina fighter Eli Addison, who returns to the ring for a fight on September 21 after a 6-year layoff. You will also hear about Undefeated Kernersville heavyweight Joshua Too-Tuff Tufte's flight to the country of Austria to spar with the heavyweight champion of the world. You will also hear Fayetteville's fast-rising, up-and-coming boxer, Lamar Russ, who talks about sparring with another world champion. I'll even be discussing the Floyd Mayweather Canelo Alvarez fight coming up in 2 weeks. And a lot more about the North Carolina boxing scene. But first, this show is brought to you in part by Mid-South Boxing Academy. See continuous updates about the boxing scene in North Carolina on our blog at gar1680.blogspot.com. And follow me on Twitter at GAR1680. I have the phone lines open if anyone wants to call in during the show. The number is 605-215-1680. If you do call in, please refrain from profanities when you speak. Also, don't stand too close to the speakers that you are hearing this show on. Also, the Ustream chat room is open. Before I start, I want to mention something I saw on the news this past week. Has anyone else heard about this? The NFL, the National Football League, has agreed to pay $765 million to 18,000 retired football players for brain-related injuries. They're calling it concussions. Did anyone else see this? I mean, and more importantly, did anyone else think what I was thinking? You know, when I first saw this news, just one thing came to mind: boxing. For years, the media and opponents of boxing have been wanting to ban this sport because they say of the possibilities of injuries to the brain. And here it's possibly happening in the most popular sport in the United States. So do you think that the people are going to begin talking about banning football too? The NFL? I doubt it. The WBA, IBF, WBO, IBO, and Ring Magazine heavyweight champion of the world, Vladimir Klitschko, is not coming to North Carolina. Instead, one of our pros will be headed to his training camp in Austria. Arrangements have been made for undefeated NABA, USA, and USBO heavyweight champ Joshua Too-Tuff Tufte of Kernersville, North Carolina, who now has a record of 14-0, to fly out to Austria to spar with Klitschko at his training camp in that country, in order to help prepare the world champ for his upcoming fight against Alexander Povetkin, a fight that takes place in Russia on October 5th. Actually, we've had a few North Carolina fighters lately traveling to spar with highly world-ranked fighters in the world lately. Jared Robinson, as I mentioned last week, of Charlotte, just got back from a training camp in Germany. And a few months ago, Fayetteville's undefeated fighter Lamar, the boxing Q Russ, sparred with Gennady Golovkin. If you haven't seen Gennady Golovkin fight, you're missing something special. I think it's going to be a long time before anybody can beat this guy. Golovkin has been destroying world-class fighters in the ring. 27 fights in an undefeated career. 24 of them by knockout. He's from a country that I have to admit I've never heard about. It's called Kazakhstan. I did look it up on a map out of curiosity. Kazakhstan is very close to Russia. Anyway, have a listen to Lamar Russ on what he had to say about sparring with Gennady Golovkin.
I'm here with Lamar Russ. He's 12-0 with 7 knockouts. He's gonna spar. He's sparring Gennady Golovkin, the most feared man in boxing. What are the sparring sessions like? You're coming from North Carolina.
Very hard, intense. Great guy, all-around boxer. Most guys have flaws. He has no flaws. Very strong, smart, fast. I mean, he's overall a great fighter, man. It's just a pleasure to be there with him.
How hard does he hit?
Hard. Very hard. He's very hard.
You're a little bigger in weight class. What's your weight?
I fight 160 also.
Right.
So with me actually sparring with another guy that fights 160, his punching power is beyond the 60, but I've never been hit that hard before in my life. Working with Genna, I get more smarts in the boxing instead of just going in there and getting punched around, because he's a great guy. He actually works with you. He doesn't go in there and just try to blast you out. Like I said, he's an overall fighter. I mean, he's a great guy in the ring, a great guy outside the ring. I mean, he's just overall.
What your fans know about you? They're watching you now. I know you're from North Carolina. I know you're undefeated.
They know Lamar, the boxing Q Russ, the pro boxer with a college degree. You know, there's not many fakes.
What's your degree in?
Business and administration with a college.
Are you gonna be your own manager, your own promoter?
Nah, I'm gonna let my manager Agus Clemens handle that. We just go from there. But everybody knows me for being a college graduate, and also I'm a part of a fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. So I mean, that's what everybody actually knows about.
I would like to thank esnewsreporting.com for that piece with our North Carolina fighter, Lamar, the boxing Q Russ. I have an email to read here. It is another press release from Coach Al Simpson, sent out to the media. I'll share this with you now. As you will see, Coach Al appears to be very excited about the charity boxing event coming up on the 13th, with boxing teams from the fire department, sheriff's office, police department, and North Carolina Highway Patrol boxing each other in a tournament in memory of first responders on 9/11. The email starts like this: Rumble in the city is here.
Let's get ready to rumble! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117
Okay, here's what Coach Al says. As of now, this is it. There may be a change here and there, but as of now, this is where we're at. Please let your people know that it's on now, baby. As of now, Highway Patrol and the Sheriff Department will both receive third place if both win their matches. But who loses will place fourth. Mainly still want each to receive prize money for their charity. We'll need everyone to meet at the center at 4:30, and we start at 6 p.m. sharp, September 13, Friday night. Fire department has said they will wear red tops, so you know the heat and fire is here. CMPD will wear blue, so you know the law is on your AS. Did I spell that right? LOL. I think Coach Al missed one S, but that's okay, Coach. We got it. I'm having a little difficulty understanding this thing about the third place and fourth place part of the message, but that doesn't matter, I think. I'm sure it's going to be a great event. I will be there for most of it. On the following day, Saturday, September 14, is the Carolinas Invitational. Amateur boxers from South and North Carolina will be competing. If you do come out that Saturday, don't worry. You'll still have a lot of time to catch the Floyd Mayweather versus Canelo Alvarez fight much later on that night on September 14. Speaking of amateur boxing, Mike Kane over at Mid-South Boxing Academy tells me that one of his athletes, Jamal Gregory, a very popular amateur boxer here in North Carolina, who also happens to be from right here in my own hometown of Concord, will be traveling to Atlanta, Georgia for an amateur competition, an amateur tournament taking place over there. So I just want to wish Mike and Jamal all the best with that tournament. Now, going back a little bit here, I know this is getting away from North Carolina a little, but it seems everybody is talking about Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Saul Canelo Alvarez. Now, there's a fight that looks great on paper, doesn't it? One guy considered the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world today with a record of 44-0. The other right there in the top 10 pound-for-pound in the world with a record of 42-0. Both guys with big undefeated records. So what's going to happen? I can tell you what I think is going to happen. I don't know. I can tell you this. If Floyd uses his usual style of hitting and running, I know a lot of big Floyd fans don't like hearing that running part, but I have to look at it like that. It looks like hit and run to me. He will probably win on points in the end if he does that. Now, if he decides to engage Canelo, if he risks going toe-to-toe with Canelo, or if Canelo manages to cut off the ring and traps Floyd, then Floyd might get himself into a world of trouble that he's never been in before. You remember how Canelo defeated Austin Trout back in April? And before that, Austin Trout beat Miguel Cotto. Well, Floyd Mayweather also defeated Miguel Cotto last year. And it seemed to me, I'm not sure if everyone saw the same thing, but it seemed to me that Trout had an easier time handling Cotto than Floyd did. Try to picture what I'm saying here. Trout, I think, did better against Cotto than Mayweather. And Canelo easily defeated Trout. So that tells me that Mayweather is going to have his hands full against Canelo on Saturday, September 14th. Mayweather is 36 years old. Canelo is 22. Yes, this fight will definitely be interesting. I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I'm going to discuss the next big boxing event taking place here in North Carolina. Okay, I'm back with you here on GAR 1680 North Carolina Boxing Talk Radio. The phone lines are still open. If you want to say something about the boxing scene here in North Carolina, give me a call at 605-215-1680. According to Walter Johnson Promotions website, on Saturday, September 21st, Walter Johnson will feature an event taking place at the Holiday Inn Airport on Burnt Poplar Road in Greensboro. The event features several world-class fighters looking to push their way towards world title contention. Scheduled on the card at this moment is undefeated Noel Shut Up Echevarria of Winston-Salem. He is now 11-0 with 7 KOs and will be fighting for the UNBC Americas title. Also, Kevin Carter of Winston-Salem will be facing Maurice Chalmers of Virginia. Another fighter on the card making his professional boxing debut will be MMA fighter. I understand he was also an MMA champion. Bobby Duvall of Kernersville in a match against Andrew Ward, the Andrew Ward of Winston-Salem. Personally, I kind of hate seeing two professional North Carolina fighters competing against each other in the ring because I don't know who to root for when that happens. I prefer seeing them take on guys from coming in from out of town. And last but not least, Eli Addison, who is originally from Winston-Salem, will be making his return to the ring. Eli last fought 6 years ago in June 2007 with a win that night. He stopped fighting with an excellent record of 10-3, with 4 of those wins by knockout. Now, Lee Addison's first loss was to a boxer who is today the world light welterweight and welterweight champion, Timothy Bradley. Bradley was just 11-0 at the time, and pretty much unheard of. In a conversation I had with Eli on the phone, he agrees with me. I mean, who knew that Timothy Bradley at that time was going to be where he is today? So we can't blame Eli too much for that loss in a career that was really just starting to take off for him. Eli did go the 8-round distance with Timothy Bradley in that fight out in California, with Bradley getting a unanimous decision win. Bradley today is still undefeated with a record of 30-0. By the way, if anyone is interested, Timothy Bradley next fights Juan Manuel Marquez, who got the knockout of the year last December when he knocked out the Pac-Man, Manny Pacquiao. I asked Eli Addison about his preparations for his upcoming bout in Greensboro, but I mostly wanted to know why he stopped fighting in 2007. Now, Eli tells me that he did get himself into some trouble with the law, but that he's all past that now. Turned his life around and ready to get his life back on track. Eli says, and I quote here, "I want to get back to where I was. Boxing is my life." That was a great quote from him. Something I didn't know. Eli tells me that he is now living in Charlotte. He goes back to Winston-Salem when he gets a chance to visit his family. He is training at Dime Boxing and Fitness in Charlotte alongside other pros there like Jared Robinson, Spidey Williams, Lee Campbell, Hassan Lee, and others under the tutelage of the great coach, James Presley. Eli tells me that Presley will be in his corner when he gets back in the ring in Greensboro on September 21. Eli also says he is training hard every day, running every morning, and then doing other training twice or 3 times a day. So I encourage North Carolina boxing fans to head out to Greensboro on September 21 to support Eli and other local fighters on the card that night. Eli Addison at this time is scheduled to fight a journeyman out of New York named Joseph Figueroa, who has 68 bouts on his record. Fighter that's fought 68 times. And Eli's only fought 13 times, so it could be a good challenge for him coming back. Anyway, I will be discussing more on the Greensboro event on the blog site, gar1680.blogspot.com. with links to get advance tickets and other information. So be sure to look for that on our North Carolina boxing blog at gar1680.blogspot.com.
This is the Boxing Talk Show on GAR 1680.
Okay, I have no new members to thank for joining our GAR 1680 Boxing Talk blog. No new members joined this past week. Remember, anyone joining as a member of the North Carolina Boxing Talk blog during the week will be mentioned and thanked here on the next radio show. You can find our blog at gar1680.blogspot.com, and it is totally free to join. Anyone wanting to write email can send it to gar1680@gmail.com. If you have news or an interesting story to tell regarding the boxing scene here in North Carolina, I will read those aloud here on the radio show. Okay, I'll go ahead and end the show here. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to comment your thoughts on our blog site, GAR1680 North Carolina Boxing Talk blog, which can be found at gar1680.blogspot.com. This is Paco Rivera. See you next time.
Ladies and gentle ducks, in that corner. He's a dog. And here's round one coming up. 139-10, you're out. The winner and new champion, Daffy Duck. I'm not the one to complain, Mr. Wefferly, but I thought you said no wuff stuff.